Hi Steve.
Hi, Christy.
Today we're going to go through a questionnaire, and it's really kind of a tool just to get to know you. I know that we've met before, but just a chance to kind of, for me really, and for you to understand a bit more about kind of what's going on for you, what things are kind of important, and how we can start to build that into your care plan and make sure that we're really, you know, making sure that we're doing the things that you want to do and helping you in the right way. Does that sound okay?
Sounds like a jolly good idea.
Yeah, good start. So
Okay.
we'll open it up. It's very bright and colourful. What we really want to try and do with using this tool is get a sense of, you know, what's really important and how we can kind of help to kind of structure your goals and kind of move forward, rather than it just being something that you've got to complete and then it never comes back out again.
Yeah.
The first question is about hope. So, you know, there's a couple of sort of prompts there that we can go through. But I guess really, like, when I kind of think about hope, I'm thinking of, you know, what you know, the things that you're kind of looking to in the future, kind of your aspirations and goals, you know, the things that are really important to you that you'd like to, you know, be able to achieve. So what does hope kind of mean to you when you think of that, when you look at that question?
For me, it's works on different levels.
Yeah.
I've got, there is hope for the future, but sometimes that seems too big a chunk to think about. Sometimes I need to think more on a micro scale, thinking about what's going to keep me feeling okay for the next 10 minutes or for the next day.
I think that's normal, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
For
I
a
hope
lot
so.
of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for you, it can be different sometimes. So it feels sometimes a bit too much to think too far into the future, but hope kind of day to day is something that you're kind of working on as well.
Yeah, I think when I was perhaps at my worst, hope didn't exist, and it just seemed like that was for everybody else.
Yeah.
But I've been learning a bit over, you know, I've been living with this stuff for a few years now, and I've been learning a bit. I don't have to be completely passive in it. There are things I can do that will make the immediate future, if not the distant future, a little more hopeful.
Yeah.
And if you add all those little bits up together, then sometimes they make a bigger bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that definitely does make sense. And what I'm just interested to know, what are those little things that you've sort of, you know, realised or learned over the years that have changed your kind of perception of hope and given you hope, if you like?
Yeah, you know, sometimes the smell of my coffee machine in the morning, you think, do you know what? It ain't that bad.
Yeah.
You know, a cup of coffee, you know, you think, right now, this minute, that smells great, it's going to taste good. Right now, this minute, it is not so bad.
Yeah.
If I'm, you know, particularly struggling, I might go and see my godchildren at the weekend.
Yeah.
And then the candour of a young, you know, 7 or 8 year old boy who tells you what he thinks in his absolute kind of genuine honesty is enough to lift anybody's spirits up.
Yeah.
And
So kind of appreciating the little things, the being in the moment, smell of coffee. I can definitely kind of identify with that. When you said that, I was like, yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
So in terms of kind of answering that question then, so the question reads, do you believe that you can live well and pursue your aspirations and goals? So where do you think you might be? So it ranges from none of the time, rarely, some of the time, often, and all of the time.
I think for me, over the last week or so, even though I've had some ups and downs, I would say I come out it often. It's not all the time, that just wouldn't, that won't be realistic. But it's definitely more than some of the time, so I would tick that box.
Yeah. And you may like to as well, maybe put a few comments if there are things that you can kind of jot down. You don't have to do that now, maybe in your own time, but
maybe a bit. I'd like to give that a bit more thought, I think.
Yeah.
Because clearly, I've had some days this week. There's been some things going on that have made me struggle.
So yeah, agency then. The next question. Now, sometimes people haven't come across the word agency. Have you come across that?
Yeah, I am.
I know from your work you probably have.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the term, and it's something that it's a concept I really like and appreciate, and it appeals to me. When I don't know. I nearly said it in my weaker moments, but I don't know if that's really the truth. I think genuinely sometimes, whatever the reason being, is I don't feel I'm having an impact on my own life, and I don't feel that that what I'm doing is worth doing. It makes no difference anyway. That kind of thing. When one starts to go down in that downward spiral. But so that's a column that I kind of continually work on. Because if I get that one right, then the hope kind of comes along with it.
Yeah, they can kind of impact on each other, can't they?
Yeah.
And so what are kind of the things that you do, maybe some of the skills or the practical things that you kind of do to give you a sense of agency, maybe when it is starting to kind of spiral the other way?
I don't know if this is going to sound counterintuitive. Sometimes I need to ask for help, and I consider that actually to be taking personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Counterintuitive. Sometimes people might argue that, well, if he needs help or he's asking for help, he's not doing it for himself. In fact, I think that is part of agency, recognising when I need that help. But the important thing is to do things for myself, and if somebody, if you're supporting me, do just that. Support me, don't do it for me. Help me, encourage me. You know I can do it, and I know I can do it, and I will pick up on your positive expectation, I'm sure. So yeah, help me, don't do it for me. And
I like what you said before about kind of now you've kind of learned that you need to ask for help sometimes, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. It's just something that you've learned in terms of sort of taking that sort of personal responsibility, and knowing when it's the time to say, like, look guys, I need a bit of help here. So where would you kind of rate yourself then in terms of agency? And the question it's asking here is, do you have a sense of control over your life?
Yes, I do. I do have a good sense of control, and as I said earlier on, I actually think agency is bigger than just the control. I would tick all of the time box on that one.
Yeah.
Because even at times when I feel that things are not right, I also know it's my responsibility to make them right as best I possibly can. Not always, but over the last week, that's certainly been the case. So I would say all the time.
Yeah. You know that you've got a choice to do things differently. So again, comments I can, leave you to do in your own time and have a bit more of a think about it. But I think you've mentioned some really kind of key stuff there in terms of doing things differently, and kind of asking for help when you need to. Some really key things that are maybe useful to put down as well.
Thank you.
So opportunity then, the third question. So some of the prompts here that it's sort of talking about is developing and supporting the things that you're good at, supporting the role that you already have, whether that's a family member, a student, or a job role, a partner, having the chance to get involved in your local community. So kind of with those in mind, what does opportunity mean to you? What does it look like?
This is probably one that I struggle with a lot.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I think it's true to say that when one is given a diagnosis for whatever, I don't like to use the language of pathology, but however, when one is given a diagnosis, then I think one's life chances have diminished a bit. And the hardest thing of all is finding and recognising the opportunities that haven't diminished, because they haven't all gone, but I do feel like they have.
And is that something that you would like to be able to work on? Is that something that you kind of think, I would like to build up that sort of side of my life?
I like the idea of the problem not being there. I don't much like the idea of working on it.
Yeah.
If I'm being really honest.
Yeah.
It's something that I want to say yes, I want to work on it, but there's half of me that's scared to death of doing it.
Yeah, a bit of trepidation. It's a bit scary, isn't it? Kind of scary, working on something that, or putting yourself in a situation that you're really uncomfortable in. So maybe that's something that in our work together that we might want to explore a bit further and kind of understand a little bit more. If you're identifying that as an area that potentially you might like to work on, although it's a bit of
it's certainly an area I'd identify that I need to work on, as long as you've got some patience.
Yeah, got a lot of that. And actually you've got a lot of skills and a lot of things that you've worked on over the years that I can see just through having this conversation now, that actually in terms of your hope and belief in yourself and ability to apply some of those skills that give you a sense of agency, actually if you've done that already, there's definitely every opportunity that you can apply the same skills to a new situation. So in terms of this question then, where do you see yourself? So the opportunity question is, can you build a full and meaningful life of your choice with opportunities to be part of wider society?
So I'm going to put, I think, rarely.
Okay.
There are aspects of my life that I would score up here. If I'm looking at it holistically, my life as a whole, not put into different boxes, I would tick it down a little bit lower, down at rarely. And
again, that may be something that's useful to reflect in on the comments, so that we've kind of got that stored, so we know that actually in some areas of your life the rating might be right at the top of the scale, but in other areas it's maybe not so much, and that's why it's if you look at it holistically, it changes. And then working relationships, the final question. What it's sort of talking about, what it's suggesting is being listened to by health and social care professionals and people that support you, so partner, family, working together to build a care plan that fits you, and feeling that people supporting you believe in your recovery. So when you think, with those kind of prompts in mind, and when you think about working relationships, what does that mean to you?
I guess for the last 2 to 3 years, I've had some fluctuations, some ups and downs, and it has been a little bit difficult getting back in when I've needed support. But more recently, people are beginning to help me, and there has been a door open for me, and that I can get back in and get some therapy for areas that I need support in, and that's been reassuring for me. I'm looking forward now to receiving a bit of support in areas that I need it, and that's looking quite positive.
Oh, good.
So I do feel like I've been listened to and supported, to be fair.
And in terms of the people in services, I'm just wondering, what is it that's particularly helpful that people are doing maybe right now that supports you in your kind of recovery and your ability to take that personal responsibility?
They are listening to me in as much as when I am clearly struggling, but I'm say, actually I need to do this, they're allowing me to do it, when probably it's sitting a little uncomfortable with them at times, providing we have an honest and open relationship.
That's really helpful for me to know as well, kind of as we develop a relationship, and for me to know that actually it's useful for you to have that open, honest kind of dialogue. So
you ask me to,
you know what's coming. Where would you score yourself? So the question here reads: do your relationships with staff or work colleagues perhaps foster hope, agency and opportunity for recovery?
Yeah, they do. They do, most definitely. Absolutely they do, yeah. I'm going to put often.
Yeah. So Steve, thank you for going through that and taking the time to really think about those answers. I think that was really useful. So that's your copy to take away and to make notes on and read back through, and we'll come back to that next time we meet and go through it again. and that'll be something that we use to shape your care plan, and we'll do subsequent forms kind of as we move forward as well, because it's be quite useful to get a snapshot as to whether things sort of change over time.
Yes.
So yeah, keep hold of that.
I will, thank you.
And then I'll just make a note of which ones you've done so I can take that away. That's great, thank you. It's been really useful to have this conversation with you and just to really kind of get a sense of kind of what's happening. And you mentioned a few times previously about that holistic approach and how this isn't just about one area of your life, but you know, you as a whole.
Yes.
And one of the sort of the next steps, I guess, for us is maybe to look at what this means and how we can use what you've said and what you've put down here, and almost to shape it into some goals, if you like, some things that we might work on together.
Okay.
And just from looking at this, obviously the one that stands out would be the opportunities one, wouldn't it? That's the one.
That's the one I scored the lowest.
Exactly, yeah. So on that one you've put rarely. So I'm just wondering, like, maybe that is something that, you know, could we shape that into a goal? Is that something that you might like to focus on?
Yes. Yes.
Maybe.
Says tentatively maybe. Yes.
Yeah.
I guess it depends what we're thinking about.
Yeah.
I'm a pragmatic man, if nothing else, and obviously the practical thing to do there is to start with the one that's got the lowest score, because that's the one that needs the most work.
You know, were there things that you used to do as part of, you know, a social club or a group that you used to enjoy?
I've always been a little bit reluctant and hesitant in getting involved in things, but there were a few things I guess I used to do. I used to take pictures and photographs and things. I used to have a good camera back in the day, but at that particular time it was quite a solitary thing. I'd go out and take my photographs. To take it on one step further would have been to join some sort of photography group or something like that.
How would it feel if you were to join a photography group?
Miles away. I don't know. Difficult. I'm also understand that it's a reasonable thing to suggest, because we need to start somewhere. If you're not going to say to me by next week, Steve, when you come back,
No.
I want you to enrolled in some sort of club.
No.
We might be on to
No. When would be reasonable then? When would be realistic if we're thinking of our SMART goals?
I would like to say a couple of months. But I need to probably do something to help me get to that stage, is the honest truth.
So it almost kind of feels like we could put that as our long-term goal, but there's steps that we need to sort of break down in the meantime as maybe shorter-term goals to help you kind of get to that bigger goal of maybe going to a photography group or doing something socially that you want to do. So perhaps then, would you want to write that down then as your longer term goal? Should we figure out the time frame as we go along? Yeah,
okay.
We can maybe kind of bear that in mind for maybe 6 months or something like that, and we can negotiate as and when you kind of feel ready to put a time on it. So I'm wondering whether in the short term, to help you get to that longer term goal of going to a group, a social group, maybe we need to take a couple of steps kind of back and think, well, actually let's really kind of bottomed out what's important to you, and make sure we've got that in place first, because then I think you're much more likely to achieve some of your longer term goals if you've got a real sense of why am I doing this? Why is it important to me? So yeah, maybe we could do a bit of values work then.
I think that will fit. When people have tried values work with me in the past, it hasn't particularly worked, but I was in a different place. I'd be very happy to give it another go, because I do believe that if I could sort out what it is really that drives me, then possibly then we could employ whatever it is we find in helping me to move forward into something else.
I think that's exactly probably what we need to uncover a little bit more. And also that that I'm just kind of getting a sense that, you know, maybe there are things that get in the way of you kind of acting in accordance to your values that you've probably started to uncover before in previous work, but maybe now's the right time if you're kind of feeling like you're in a good place to do this work now.
Yeah. So what she put down there then? You're prepared to work with me on that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I might be difficult.
It's okay.
Well, should I put just values work?
Yeah. That's keep it simple.
Okay.
I think we can start on that over the next couple of sessions.
Okay,
Definitely. Yeah. With that longer term goal in mind. Yeah. So I know that wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't.
It's never easy to kind of shape up a few goals, and obviously your goals will change and develop over time, and we can be flexible, we can accommodate for that. So you take that one away.
Okey-doke, thank you.
I will just write down your goals before I leave, so I know them as well, because I want to keep them in mind. And then we'll meet again and have a bit of a review of how things have gone and start on those values as well.
Super, okay, thanks.
Okay, great.
Thank you.